Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Jamie. So in the last video, we got some semblance of Pong started. And I did a couple of things that I'm really not happy with. So what I thought we'd do is, in the last video I used like hash pragma region just to minimize code as I was going through. And after I uploaded it, I realized that's a bit lazy. What I should have done was split the project up into multiple files then and there, because it makes it easier and less of a chore doing it later on. So let's do that now. Let's go through what we've got and we'll split it up into separate source and header files. And then in the next video, which I'll do pretty quickly, we'll go through and we'll add in input and it'll make it, well, Pong. So let's go through and fix up our code now. Okay, so here's the project as we've got it. And let's just go back through the first thing we need to do. Right, let's go up to the top. And what have we got? Right, first things first, IntelliSense is a pretty bad name for what this file now is. IntelliSense is a bit of a throwback to what it used to be when I did this in Visual Studio 2015. So let's rename this, okay, right click, rename, and we'll call it GBA underscore macros.h. And we'll just add a define in here that we're going to need. So we're going to need a define for inline, okay? And we'll just define inline as static inline. Okay, so it's just going to override the compiler and it's going to tell it anytime we use inline, we just really want it to be inline. And we'll change this define name to GBA macro. So any file that we deal with that's GBA specific, we're going to have the naming convention of GBA underscore and then whatever the content of the file is. So in this one, GBA macro. In one of them, we might have GBA types, GBA graphics, etc. Okay, so we've renamed that. Let's include that again. So instead of including IntelliSense, we'll include GBA macros.h, and we'll just rebuild. And we'll make sure from the build output, having a look at the build log, that everything builds fine. And yep, we're okay. There's no difference to our project. Right, next one is we'll go right click, we're going to add a new file. And we're going to add in GBA types. So we're just going to start at the top of our main C file and work through and chunk this down as best we can. Okay, so first things first, in our GBA types.h, let's just define our include guards. So we'll just, hash define, or hash if not defined, if not def, double underscore, GBA underscore types underscore h double underscore. Okay, so here's, yep, that's it. And yep, we'll do a hash define, we'll define that. Yep, type it out again, and then we'll just do an end if, and we'll just put a comment and the define that we're ending. We don't have to put the comment in, I just find it really useful when we've got multiple if, end, defs, and defines in code that, you know, I can tell what it is quite quickly. Okay, so now we've got that in. Let's get the content from our main C and we'll paste it in here. Well, first things first, we need to include a couple of files. We're going to need to include std int and std bool. So there's that include, yep, stdint.h, and then we're going to need to include, yep, std bool.h as well. Okay, and then we can type def out all our variables again, or we can just go and nick this from our main.c file, which is probably, well, yep, that's what I'll do. Cool, so we can grab this section of code here that we've got from our previous build, cut it, and we'll paste it in here. Okay, so that's all our GBA types defined in one file now. We can go back through and instead we'll cut out these includes and we'll include GBA underscore types.h. Okay, quick rebuild and just make sure that everything works as expected. Okay, that's all happy with our code. It's rebuilt fine. The next one we're going to add is we're going to add GBA underscore graphics. Okay, so GFX for graphics. And we'll put in a type def for for this as well. So if not defined, _, GBA _ GFX _ H _. Okay, so this is just an include guard. So when we include these, if it's not defined, it's going to go through, it's going to define it, it's going to include all of our code, and it's done. So we're avoiding this issue of having things multiple included in the same file, because we only need one instance of something. Okay, for this one, we're going to need to include GBA macros.h, and we're also going to need to include GBA types.h as well. And it helps if I spell include properly. And again, include GBA types. So one thing I really want to do with this is, let's define a base registry class. So just a header file that has all the defines in it for where our main base memory addresses are located on the GBA. So we'll just call that GBA _ reg.h. So we'll go ahead and we'll add that now. And we'll just go through and we'll populate that with the base memory addresses as they're defined in GBA tech. So we'll add the include guards. And then I'm just going to go through, I'm going to define a whole bunch of just base memory addresses for like where our IO starts, where VRAM starts, etc. So I'll go through and I'll do that super quick. Okay, so here's a pretty good place to pause it and just jot all this information down. Now we'll jump back over into our GBA macros.h file, and we're just going to put in a define here for null, because this seems like a pretty good place to define null. So if ndef null, define null as void pointer 0, and then we'll do an endif. Okay, so let's go back into GBA graphics.h, and what we'll do is we'll include in here our GBA _ reg.h. And what we're going to do from here is in our graphics file, we're going to just define out a lot of our video memory locations and things we've previously defined out, but we're going to use our reg base offset instead. So let's define out our display controller, or register for display controller. Let's give it the same name as it has in GBA tech as well. And let's not call it display, let's call it display control, or discount. And let's just define that out. Okay, so it's going to be a VU16. Okay, it's volatile unsigned 16, and it's a pointer. And we're just going to do reg base plus whatever the offset is. In this case, the reg base offset is just 0, so just reg base. Okay, and I'm going to go through, I'm going to define for different video modes, and I'll do a couple other defines. Okay, so that's all the video modes and background enables defined out. Now I'll just do another define for vcount we were using before for our vsync function. So again, hash define, and we'll call it vcount, or reg _ vcount. And we'll give it the address we previously had. So it's a pointer to a volatile unsigned 16 pointer, and we'll give it the memory address of reg base plus, and we'll give it the offset amount in hex, so 0x06. And that's going to give us our offset. Okay, cool. So now we've defined that. We're going to extern void. Now extern's a keyword in C that functions get by default, variables don't get by default, but extern void vsync. And this is going to be vsync function. So we'll just extern it here. We only need the declaration in our header file. We don't need the actual definition in the header file. Okay, so once we've defined that out, we'll move along and we'll create a GBA graphics.c. All right, so we're going to include a new file. We'll just right click source, new file, GBA underscore GFX.c. Okay, so in this, all we're going to do here is we're just going to hash include GBA graphics.h. We'll include that here, and then we're just going to add the definition for our vsync function. So void vsync, externs not needed, externs in the header, so it's just void vsync, and we see this while loop again that we have for vsync. So it's just while reg vcount is greater than 160, we'll spin our wheels for a while, and then while reg vcount is less than 160 and it's greater than or equal to on the line above, so whilst it's less than 160 we'll keep spinning our wheels. And that's that. So now we can go back into our main.c file. Okay, we'll open that up and we can get rid of this stuff at the top with the defines for BG mode, screen buffer, and screen width, etc. So we can get rid of that. What we'll do next is we'll go through and we'll add in some defines for our math stuff. We'll look at that. We'll get our math stuff here and we'll start sticking that into separate headers. So let's create a new header file and we can call this one GBA underscore math utils Okay, so again, we'll use our include guards in here. So if and def, define, and if, and it'll be double underscore GBA math util underscore h. All right, so this file is just going to have a bunch of our sort of utility functions in here. So things like absolute value, random, getting the sign of something. We could put all that sort of stuff belongs in just our math utility functions. So once we've defined that out, let's just go and let's fix this up a little bit. So we're going to need to include GBA types because we're going to need that. I don't think we'll need any of our other GBA stuff for now. So let's extern S32 and it's going to be random value. What do we call that? Wasn't that? It was GBA. So double underscore GBA underscore rand underscore seed. Okay, so we'll define our random seed. Okay, we can semicolon here and we'll go down to the next line. Okay, what functionality are we going to need? Right, let's just scroll down. Where's that random function? Here it is down here. Okay. It's going to be quicker if we just grab all of this instead of having me type it out again and you type it out again. Let's just grab everything that's in this pragma region. Yep, we'll just grab that. And we'll cut it and we'll go back to our math util and we'll just paste it over the top of that. Okay, oops, we've got a comment in at the top. Let's fix that up. Okay, so if this is our random number generation stuff, we're going to extern that GBA seed value. We won't allocate it here. We can get rid of that part of the function because we only want the function defined here. We don't want any of the function definitions in this file. So we can get rid of all that stuff. And let's just let's clean this up a little bit. Okay, let's add extern in here as well, just so it's clear what's going on. So all these are declared here, and they're going to be defined somewhere else. Okay, so that's all of our extern. Let's do an S32 for abs. What's abs going to take? It's going to take an S32 value as well. So we'll do that. It's going to take a underscore val. Cool, and we'll end that. Right. Now let's create a GBA mathutil.c. So right click source, GBA mathutil.c. And we'll go into that. Okay. And we'll just paste what we had previously copied. And at the top, we're going to need to hash include GBA underscore mathUtil.h. Right, helps if I spell include properly. Okay, so yep, we've included that. Now these should all be defined in the header file. We've given them the definitions here, so that's good. What we'll do is we'll jump into main CPP and we're going to grab our absolute value function. So we'll grab that. Where is it? There it is there. So we might as well grab this comment that goes with it, and that's handy. And we'll cut that and we'll paste that into our GBA mathUtil underscore C. Okay, there we go. So there's our math utilities defined as we've got them for now. Yep, everything's externed, everything looks good. Okay. Okay, now we've got that done. Let's go through and get all that drawing code that we've got here. So our screen width and height, our set color function, our draw line function. Let's take all of that out of main.c and we'll add a new file and we'll call it GBA underscore drawing.h. Okay, so we'll create that, and what we'll do is we'll paste that in here, and then we'll go through and we'll add in our include guards, and I'll speed this up. We'll take out everything that we don't need, so we should end up with a file that looks like this. Okay, so pause there to make sure you get that right, and what we're going to do is we're going to add a new file, GBA underscore drawing.c. Okay, so in there we're just going to paste what we previously cut. Okay, so let's go back in. Yep, that's fine. We're going to need to include everything that we externed from here. So let's do a hash include, and we'll include GBA drawing dot h. Okay. Once that's included, we should see all these red underscores clear up. Yep, okay, so that's all good now. And from here, what we'll do is, everything seems fine. We'll jump back into our main.c, and we're just going to clean up any of this pragma region code that we've got. So we can get rid of that now. And yep, let's scroll through, and yeah, we'll clean up this as well, get rid of that pragma region, and we'll get all this ball code. Let's put the ball in its own separate header and C files as well. So we'll cut that from there and right click on include, and we'll go new file, and we'll just do ball.h, because this isn't really GBA specific, this is just Pong specific. And we'll paste what we've cut. But first we'll write our include guards, so just if not defined, double underscore pong underscore ball.h, and yep, we'll do the define for that, and then we'll do an end if, and then we'll paste what we cut previously. We're doing all our defines in here because we want to have separate C and header files, so we'll paste in what we have, and then we'll cut out all the content of it, so we just have our function declarations, and that way we can put anything we need to define in a separate C file. So we'll go through and yep, we'll just cut out all of our function definitions. We'll just keep the declarations there. We'll go through, cut this out, and then we'll add in all of our externs. We'll extern all of these. We don't need to add the keyword extern here because it's there by default on functions. It's not there by default in variables, but it is on functions. So we'll add extern in, and this just sort of makes it really explicitly clear what's going on. And then, oh right, okay, we're going to need to add in our include for GBA types as well, otherwise it won't know what S32 and U16 are inside that ball struct. So we'll do GBA underscore types. We don't need any other GBA includes in here. This is nothing else GBA specific. And we'll go through and we'll add in the semicolons on the end of these lines as well. Okay, once that's done, we can create a new source file and we'll call it ball.c. Then in here, what we want to do is we want to include our ball.h, or yep, ball.h, and then we'll just paste what we previously copied out of our main.c file. Okay, so that's everything. Let's see, we're not going to need to redefine this structure in here. That's going to get that from the include file. Oh, and we need to rename this as well because it should be a lowercase b, not an uppercase b. Right, so that all looks pretty good. We're going to need to include GBA drawing though, because we call draw rect. So in here we'll hash include, and we'll include GBA underscore drawing.h. Right, I can't see any other GBA specific functionality there for now. So let's jump back into our main C file and let's get the paddle code and we'll cut that out as well. So we'll cut that out of here. We'll get rid of this pragma and region stuff here. We don't need vcount, we've defined that elsewhere. So we've just got our main function and we'll go include new file and we'll do paddle.h. So we're going to put our paddle specific code into paddle.h. And again, we'll do the same thing. We'll do our include guards for our paddle, and then we'll paste the content that we cut and we'll take out any of the definitions and we'll just leave in the function declarations and we'll extern all of those as well. And then we'll go through and we'll add those function definitions into paddle.c. Okay, so we'll create a new file. We'll create a paddle.c file, and in here we'll include paddle.h, and then we'll paste the stuff we previously had from there. Oh, we're also going to need to include GBA drawing.h as well. Okay, so now we'll paste that paddle code there. Okay, so we're calling draw rect. It's got types from the header. That's all good. We don't need that structure anymore. And we've got our paddle done. Okay, so now we've gone into GBA drawing. We're going to need to include graphics in here as well. Obviously, because we've got that screen buffer that we're drawing to that we need to include there. Let's see, what else are we going to have to do here? So I've more than likely missed something. I'll go through and we'll just double check to make sure I've got everything in there. That looks kind of right. So we'll just jump into main and we'll include the things that we need, and then I'll build the project and see if any errors pop up. So we're going to need to include GBA underscore drawing in here because we're drawing a couple of lines. We're going to need to include what are we going to include now? GBA math util. Yeah, we'll need math util in here as well because we're seeding rand. So we'll need that. And then we'll go through and we'll just include our ball and our paddle. Yep, so we'll include ball.h. Let's separate these out so we know the GBA includes from the Pong specific includes. And we'll include paddle. All right, okay, let's just build this now. Okay, so we'll just run make debug and we'll see what happens. Okay, so there's make debug done and it's going to compile and we've got red errors. Great. So what am I missing? Oh, screen buffer. Okay, so I obviously haven't defined that. So let's have a look. Where would that be? No, it's not in graphics.h. I could put it here. Now it'd make more sense to use it in drawing because that's where it gets used. So let's put a definition back in for screen buffer. And it'll be the same it was in the previous one. It's going to be a, what's that, volatile 16 and we'll just define that as a pointer to VRAM. Okay, and we're going to include GBA underscore reg.h in here as well, now that we've included that VRAM variable. And okay, so we'll do a build again and we'll see what happens now. So we'll build and we've still got a couple of errors. So let's see about getting these fixed up. What have we got? Oh, okay, hang on. I think I've spelt something wrong. Let's have a quick look. I need to include GBA graphics as well. Yep, okay, so I've got our register for display control and we're trying to OR in the 2 video modes. Okay, so include graphics.h, that's fine. Build again, and okay, I've got an error. Yeah, so I did spell something wrong. Let's add the P back into here. All right, cool, that's fine. And let's jump back, that seems fine. Let's build that and we'll see what happens again. Okay, so everything's built, but I'm still getting a warning. I'm getting a warning about implicit declaration of function ABS. Okay, let's scope that out and see where that might be coming from. Okay, so looking in GBA mathUtil.c, it's defined in the header file properly. It's defined here properly. It's probably an include order. I'm probably using it in another file. And if you want to get rid of this, just go into GBA drawing.c and include mathUtil in there, because I believe that's probably using it. But what we can do for now is I'll just rearrange the include order. So I include types, mathUtil, and then graphics and drawing. And then we'll build, and there's no issues with that now. Okay, so it's either in graphics or drawing. Drawing's making use of it. So if you go into GBA drawing and include it, but we can see now that's built and it's run, and we've hit a breakpoint, and we'll skip over that and we'll have exactly the same thing that we had last time running, but this time we've split it down into header and C files. So thanks for tuning in this week, and I'll put another one up really soon.